ago, I was telling the Arizona Cardinals, you got to punt Josh Rosen and select Kyler Murray because Josh Rosen was terrible and Kyler Murray was awesome. Then I told the Washington football team, you got to discard. Like, just toss Dwayne Haskins aside and select Tua Tagovailoa because Dwayne Haskins is terrible. And now I'm telling the Miami Dolphins, you got to hang on to Tua, man. Let's dive in. To start with, Tua Tagovailoa was a pretty good prospect. His college QBR was in the 98th percentile according to playerprofiler.com. That's obviously incredible. His college yards per attempt was 97th percentile. That is also incredible. His breakout age was 20.5. That's 58th percentile. That's not so bad. It's kind of what we expect for quarterbacks. He was a 22-year-old rookie, and the most important input that I use when I'm prospecting quarterbacks is called QBase, and it's from Football Outsiders, and if you haven't checked it out, you really gotta. Tua Tagovailoa's QBase was 653, which eclipsed the threshold that I use. He wasn't a world beater, but he was good enough, and that's what matters. I use it as a threshold. I don't use it linear. I don't use it like a linear thing. The higher the better isn't necessarily the case for me. I believe that's how they intend to use it, but I have found that it's more of a threshold thing. Tua hits the threshold. And then I use, I'm starting to use, we don't have enough data on it yet to use it, but at PFF, age-adjusted PFF grades for quarterbacks seems pretty promising to me. And his age 20 PFF grade was 90.8. That's 7th out of 30 quarterbacks taken in the first round. So he's pretty damn good from a PFF grade perspective. And then his age 21 season was 90.3. So basically the same, consistently. Consistent excellence. That's the idea, right? So all this rolls together, makes him a bulletproof prospect. He is a really good prospect. That's why the Washington football team should have taken him. Then we get to the NFL, and it is a sequence of unusual events, like just weird things happening, right? First of all, Fitz starts, not unsurprising. Tua Tagovailoa had a possible career-threatening injury back in college, and he was still recovering. So it's not that unusual for Ryan Fitzpatrick to start, I don't think, for the veteran quarterback to start. But then what gets weird is coming off the bye, they're just like, yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're playing the best football of your life. Tell you what, go find a seat on the bench. Tua's in. They put Tua in as the starter in a playoff hunt. Like, it wasn't like they're out of contention. It's just like, let's see what the kids got. They're in the playoff hunt. They put Tua in. That is weird. That shouldn't happen. And then the opposite of this happens, and they keep pulling Tua every time they get down in a game. They're like, Fitz, get in here. We need you. Save the game. We need a miracle. Ryan Fitzpatrick is that guy. Like, if I need a miracle, I'm going to Ryan Fitzpatrick. The dude can make things happen. He's just not very good over long periods of time. But anyways, so like just strange things happening. And then the weird thing, not necessarily weird, should be expected. After the game, every time they pull Tua after the game, the media is all over the coaches, right? They're like, hey, we're like Tua out now. Fitz is back in. Go win some games, make the playoffs. Like, no. Tua's the quarterback. They're not doing that like BS thing where they're like, I need to watch the tape, reevaluate things, get back to you next week. We haven't announced it. That's not what they did. They were like, no, Tua Tagovailoa is a starter, period. It's not for discussion. Tua is a starter. Boom, let's go. So, and now we have just everyone overreacting to this phenomenon. I get it. It's weird. We don't usually see a rookie get pulled when he's not playing well. Stranger yet, we don't see a rookie get put into the lineup in the first place when the team's in a playoff hunt and the veteran is playing well. And then when the veteran comes in and plays well, they don't usually go back to the rookie. Unless, of course, they actually think the rookie is good or going to be good. So let's move into Tua's on-field play. How did Tua play when he was on the field? Well, there's a rumor going around that Tua has elite accuracy and throws with anticipation. And that rumor is coming from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And that's exactly what it played out as this year in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa had a 7.9 accuracy rating from playerprofiler.com. That is number 2 in the world. That's really good. He's a rookie and he's number 2 in the world in accuracy. When now you're thinking, well, of course he was, because he doesn't throw the ball down the field. It's really easy to throw an accurate pass to the running back or the receiver that's 2 yards down the field. Here's the thing. Tua Tagovailoa was number 17 in the NFL in air yards per attempt with 7.9. He wasn't a check down Charlie. That came from one game that people watched where Tua was just dumping it off repeatedly. But outside of that game, obviously, across his entire season, he was number 17 in the NFL. Here's the weird thing. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the guy that everyone is juxtaposing because they're comparing what Tua did with what Fitzpatrick did, he had an 8.1, number 14 in the NFL air yards per attempt. They basically did the same thing. The difference, of course, is that Tua Tagovailoa isn't as good as Ryan Fitzpatrick is right now. But there's a tweet from Computer Cowboy at Ben B. Baldwin on Twitter, and he says, This is back in December 30th. QBs with a higher grade than Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know the context behind this, so I don't know if that's PFF grade or like passer grade or what grade he's talking about. But he has Mike Glennon, Brandon Allen, Nick Foles, Gardner Minshew, Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Daniel Jones, a bunch of obviously terrible quarterbacks. Here's the thing. We can't compare rookie quarterbacks to NFLers because it's silly. Quarterback takes time. I'm the first guy to tell you got to punt players that aren't performing. That's not Tua Tagovailoa. We need to compare apples to apples. We need to compare rookie quarterbacks to other rookie quarterbacks. Unfortunately for Tua Tagovailoa, he came out into a class with Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, who are both incredible. So it makes him look really bad. Luckily for us, we have an entire history of rookie quarterback performances that we can compare Tua Tagovailoa to. So when we are comparing apples to apples, this is what we get. how do I phrase this? I haven't like perfected this process yet, which is why I'm not like rolling it out full scale. Here's what we're doing. I'm working on it, playing around with it, seeing what we can turn up. Here's what I found so far. Offensive grades from PFF and passer rating from PFF have pretty good correlation. It's not like perfect by any stretch, but it's pretty good. Gives us an idea of who is going to be good and who isn't going to be good in the NFL. And when we compare them as rookies, that's where we compare apples to apples. So with Tua Tagovailoa, the first thing I did was just flip on offensive grade. And one of the things that really like a pet peeve of mine is when I see these analysts or just fans, and they'll put like a list of, everybody with 900 or more receiving yards. And then it's or more. So it's 900 receiving yards to 3,000 rookie year receiving yards. So it's comparing like somebody who had like 900 yards to, somebody that had 1,800 yards as a rookie. It's not the same thing. You don't compare the bottom to the top. That's not the way you should do it. You pick a range and you go a little above and a little below. With quarterbacks, it's a lot harder because we have a lot less of them. And I'm not going to compare first-round quarterbacks to, Gardner Minshew, because Gardner Minshew doesn't fit. He doesn't come from the same starting point. So this is looking at only offensive grade. I went a little bit above his grade because we need a decent range, and quite a bit below his grade. And we get, what do we get here? We got 17 quarterbacks that are comparable. Those quarterbacks are Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, Marcus Mariota. And those are the hits. And then we have Dwayne Haskins, Mitch Trubisky, Daniel Jones, Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold, Jake Locker, and Matt Leinart. So it's a hit and miss crew, right? It's 10 out of 17 have hit a quarterback one season. That's a 59% hit rate. That's not so bad. And that's not filtering for prospect quality. We are comparing Tua Tagovailoa, a very good prospect, to a bunch of guys that never had a chance, quite frankly. The second thing I said I look at is QB rating according to PFF grade. Again, we go a little above and a little below and quite a bit below, and it spits out some more comps. And we left on the offensive grade. So we're filtering for offensive grade and QB rating, and it gets our list down. Now we're looking at Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, Marcus Mariota are the hits. And then we have the misses are Mitch Trubisky, Daniel Jones, and Sam Darnold. So that is 7 out of 10 have hit a wide receiver one season, 70%. That's pretty good. That's the range that Tua Tagovailoa is in. And that is before we are filtering for prospect grade. Before we are looking at only good prospects, we're looking at everyone, no matter how good or bad they are as a prospect. So now the next thing I look at, and this one I've changed a little bit because it was giving me too few samples, to be honest. So I have flipped it to only bulletproof prospects. So only good prospects coming into the league. I've left on the high level on the offensive grade and the high level on the QB rating, but I removed the floor. I said the absolute worst bulletproof prospects. I don't care who they are, how do they perform, and what can we expect from Tua Tagovailoa. Here is the list. Cam Newton, Matt Stafford, Andrew Luck, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Marcus Mariota. You want to know the hit rate? 7 out of 7 have hit a top 12 season. 100% of these players that played no better than Tua Tagovailoa hit a top 12 season. 100%. 6 of 7 of those guys have hit twice so far. The only one that hasn't is Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota looked pretty good in his half game last year. Just saying. He looked pretty bad in Tennessee last year. Or 2 years ago, I'll be honest. He didn't look very good. Anyways, we got 6 out of 7 having at least 2 top 12 seasons. That's 86%. 3 of those 7 guys have 5 or more top 12 seasons so far. That's a 43% rate of 5 or more top 12 seasons. That is crazy. So my question for you is, why in the hell are you fading Tua Tagovailoa?